All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down a super simple but incredibly powerful four-word tool that can stop those spiraling negative thoughts right in their tracks. You know the ones I'm talking about. So let's do this. So check this out first. On an average day, you have something like 6,000 thoughts. But here's the wild part. Research suggests a whopping 80% of them are negative. And on top of that, a huge chunk are repetitive. I mean, that's just a massive amount of our mental real estate being occupied by thoughts that can really drag us down. So where is all this negativity coming from? Well, for a lot of us, it sounds like a broken record, a playlist stuck on repeat. And the theme song is always the same question: what if? And here's where it really gets sticky. A full 95% of those negative thoughts, they're also repetitive. This is how that one little what if thought doesn't just pass by. Oh no, it builds steam and turns into a full-blown, draining anxiety spiral. Now, you might be thinking, hey, isn't that just my brain trying to keep me safe? Preparing me for the worst-case scenario? Well, that's what it feels like. But the actual neuroscience tells a completely different and frankly, a much more damaging story. And this is the really cruel twist in all of this. Your brain genuinely thinks it's doing you a favor. It thinks running through every possible disaster is helpful prep work. It's a self-protection instinct that is totally backfired on us. This just lays out the disconnect perfectly. While your brain thinks it's problem-solving, what's actually happening is your body is flipping the switch on its stress response. It's pumping out cortisol, and that stress hormone basically hits the emergency brake on the rational problem-solving part of your brain. So you're not solving anything, you're just spinning your wheels and burning precious mental energy. So let's be super clear, this is not a harmless little habit. Every single time you let your mind run one of these disaster simulations, you are actively making it harder for you to think clearly. You're literally strengthening that anxiety pathway in your brain, making it the default road for your thoughts to travel down next time. Okay, so that's the bad news. But the good news? There is a way to break this cycle. And that brings us to the four-word fix. It's a surprisingly simple question that can snap the pattern instantly. So the big question is, how do you pull your mind out of this endless doom and gloom simulation? How do you tell your brain, hey, that's enough? Well, what if I told you it all comes down to asking just one simple question? That's it. Seriously, that is the entire tool. 4 words. The moment your brain starts that what if nonsense, you just throw this question at it like a stop sign. It's a pattern interrupt that forces a hard reset, an immediate reality check. And why is this so ridiculously effective? Well, because when you actually stop and ask yourself, you find that, 99% of the time, the horrible thing you're worried about is, well, it's just not happening. The answer is almost always a very clear, very grounding no. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Is this just some clever distraction? Nope. This isn't just a mental trick. There is some really cool neuroscience that explains exactly why this simple question has such a massive impact on your brain. Okay, so your what-if spiral runs on a part of your brain called the default mode network. Think of it as imagination station. But the question, is this happening now, forces a hard switch over to a different system, the task positive network, that's reality check central. You are literally changing the channel in your brain from a fictional drama to a live documentary. And this mental channel surfing kicks off a process called cognitive reappraisal. Now, the key thing to get here is you are not fighting the thought. You're not trying to wrestle it into submission. You are simply changing its context, reevaluating it, which completely robs it of its emotional power and starts to weaken its neural pathway. So that's the science behind it. Now, let's get super practical. How do you actually use this when you're in the heat of the moment and your mind is racing? Okay, so let's imagine this classic thought pops into your head. Oh my gosh, what if I totally bomb this presentation tomorrow? And you can feel that anxiety starting to bubble up. Instead of following that thought down the rabbit hole, bam, you hit it with the question, is this happening now? And the answer grounds you immediately. No, I am not failing a presentation. I am sitting at my desk. Right now, in this moment, I am safe. But, your brain doesn't give up that easily, right? So it'll try another angle. A new what if appears. What if they all think I'm incompetent? And you do the exact same thing. No arguing, no debating, you just apply the rule. Is this happening right now? No. That's not reality. That is a movie playing in your head. And this question is your way of remembering you don't have to buy a ticket. And here is where the real magic happens over time. At first, yeah, it feels like manual labor. You have to consciously interrupt each thought. But if you stick with it, something amazing happens. After just a couple of weeks, you start to physically rewire those neural pathways. That old anxiety superhighway starts to get overgrown, and the anxious thoughts just lose their grip. So ultimately, you're training your brain to make one critical distinction: the difference between actual problems, which happen now and require action, and imaginary problems, which happen in what-if land and only require a question. So here is your new habit, your game plan, in 4 simple steps. 1. Notice the what-if thought shows up. 2. Pause. This is huge. Don't engage with it. 3. Ask the forward question. And 4. Gently bring your focus back to whatever you were actually doing in the present moment. Just remember, your brain is a threat simulation machine. That's its job, and it's not going to stop. Your new job isn't to break the machine, it's to become the master operator who can tell the difference between the simulation and what's actually real. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Imagine all the mental fuel and emotional energy you are currently spending on worries that aren't even real. What could you accomplish? What could you create or enjoy if you could reclaim all of that energy and pour it back into your actual life, right here and right now?